Hi friends, today we will discuss about the common features of three countries' skilled migration to Australia, New Zealand and Canada. All the three countries have common features. We will have a discussion in this video. I am Venkateswaran Krishnan. I am an immigration attorney with 15 years of practice in immigration law. Mainly I concentrate on Australian and New Zealand immigration laws. And this is an opportunity for us to compare the three famous country migration schemes, the requirements for Australia, New Zealand and Canada. Please note that this is not a migration advice, neither is an immigration legal advice, and nothing to do with any individualized solution. It is only merely a comparison of three countries, providing you basic structures. And for any further details or further detailed advice, you should contact me or should go back to the concerned countries' authorized government websites, the immigration websites. They are the key areas where you should take your relevant information from. This is actually a comparison. Let us compare the three countries, the most famous countries where migrants are looking for migration opportunity actually. Australia, New Zealand and Canada. These countries have got the following important character. What are they? One is they are all point tested. All the three countries have particular points. If you have particular points, then you will be allocated to a pool, and from the pool and periodically you will be selected. This is the standard that for all the three countries have. Suppose you achieve certain points, based on the points you have achieved, your application will be put in a pool, and from that pool, when there is a requirement on where they want to select the migrants, they will select from the pool, and we will be invited to apply for the visa. So this is the standard process all the three countries have. Beyond that, there are many common features which is very interesting to note that for all the three countries, before even we apply, we need to choose an occupation. Its occupation must be in their approved list. Each country has got their own approved list of occupations. For example, in Australia it has got medium term occupation, in short term skilled occupation list. In case of Canada, it is called national occupational code or whatever, and in case of New Zealand there is a long term skill shortage list. So you should have an appropriate occupation in that appropriate skill list actually. That is important. If you are unable to nominate an occupation, unfortunately you will not be able to proceed further. Then the next important common feature is that you should have an appropriate education at certain standards or certain levels. Only then you will be able to meet the migration requirements. So this is a key feature. Another one is all these countries look at the experience. You should have some experience. There's no country where there's at least minimum requirement is 1 year experience. So freshers generally, in majority of the case, will not be able to qualify for migration directly unless they possess an experience in the particular field. Then the most important common feature is that you need to demonstrate your English ability. How do you demonstrate your English ability? You need to take the common international English test such as IELTS or PTE. In case of Australia, they do accept TOEFL as well. So these are the three tests that normally taken. For Canada, it is only IELTS general. For New Zealand, it can be IELTS or PTE. In case of Australia, it can be TOEFL as well, depending on the country what you want. But there has to be a English score, with English ability demonstrated through a valid international test score. So this is important. Another key feature is that if you are having a spouse who is also qualified, then what happens is these countries do provide you some additional points. So in your own application, when you include a partner or your spouse who's got a qualification, you can get additional points. This is another feature. Similarly, in case of you have a sibling, and there is a possibility of getting a points into these countries. You have a relative or sibling, there is some possibility of getting some points. And of course, those who have a previous study in these countries, if you have studied in Canada, you will get points for Canadian migration. If you studied in New Zealand, you may get some points for that, and similarly in Australia as well. Similarly, if you have work experience in these countries, that also adds to your point. The another three key feature is that there is age requirement. The age, there is an upper limit for age for all the three countries have specified. So that is an important area where beyond which either you will not qualify or you will not get points. Even if they did not mention any age limit, but you may not get any points beyond certain age. So this is the key feature of all the three countries, and there is a health and character requirement which is standard. Health is they will have to, they will ask you to go through health checks through other panel doctors, and only through that authorized panel doctors your health checks has to be conducted. Then the next is producing character evidence. What is that? Producing police clearance certificates from those countries where you lived for sufficient time, as prescribed by each country. So these are the key requirements for all the three. Saying this, then there is a process. The method of processing is also similar in all these countries, which is quite interesting to note that. So we will see how they are exactly similar. As we see, the application process, before even we make any application, you need to comply, you need to ensure that you have completed few pre-assessment requirements. Unless you compile and keep your pre-assessment requirements, you will not be able to move further with your application. So these are the pre-requirements. What are the pre-application requirements? One is, as we already discussed, you should have an occupation. You should nominate your, you should choose and ensure that this is your accountant or your accountant, tax accountant, management accountant, or your software engineer, whatever. You need to decide what you are, and from that occupation list actually, and that is important. Once you decided that one, then there is something called assessment. All the three countries have assessment. Only difference is, in case of Australia, it's a skilled assessment. That is, what is skill? Skill is a degree and your experience together. You are assessed for your skills. That is, your degree and your experience together will be assessed for your skills actually. In case of New Zealand and Canada, it's only degrees assessment. But degrees cannot, for example, if you assess from a particular place, it may not be accepted throughout the world. So Australia has prescribed where you can assess. New Zealand and Canada also, they have their own authorized authorities, and you should go to that approved authorized authority and get the degree assessed. In case of, for example, Canada, it is WES or few other authorities where you can get the degree assessed. They don't assess your skill as such, but they look at the degree and see whether it meets the Canadian standards. Similarly, New Zealand is a New Zealand Qualification Assessment Authority, NZQA, who determine whether your qualification meets the study levels in New Zealand. In case of Australia, it's not only the qualification is important, the most important is your skill. The skill, in the sense, you have to have a sufficient experience, which provides you the level of job duties that you can meet in Australia. So they look at your occupational skill level. So how that is assessed is your degree plus your experience. So this is important. So you complete this assessment depending on your country. So each country has prescribed what is that should be, and once you complete that, you are ready with that. So that is a pre-application requirement. There is also another key pre-application requirement. That is, as we already know, you should demonstrate your English ability. How can you demonstrate English proficiency? You know that you should take an appropriate test like IELTS or a TOEFL test. In case of Canada, it's IELTS general. Other countries, IELTS and PT is also accepted. You should take the sufficient level of scores, a minimum level, as appropriate. Each country keep it ready. Now you have a skill assessment. You decide the occupation. Skill assessment is there. Your English proficiency. Now you are ready to go for the application process. In this time, in case you are claiming your spouse points, spouse also may need to have the degree assessed and skill assessed, whatever. So, and also they should seek for the English test and score their own level of English standards as well, English proficiency as well. So you must go through this process for the spouse also. Once they are ready, now we are ready to launch the application. The application is actually two-stage process. All the countries follow this same exactly two-stage process. The first stage is to submit an expression of interest. What is an expression of interest? Expression of interest is nothing but you express your interest. How do you express? You make a written application saying that you're interested in migrating to your country. So that is either you do it for Australia, New Zealand, Canada. Canada it's also called some profile skilling or whatever. Ultimately the concept is same. You need to put a pre-application. Well, what does it mean? You make a statement that you want to migrate and you provide various details. In that detail they'll clearly ask, have you got your assessment, degree assessed or skill assessed as the country B, and your IELTS score. So these two should be clearly fed there. Only once these two are done, you'll be able to move further. This is very important first step. So along with that, you should also quote your other experiences and various relevant things because you are a skilled applicant to all the three countries. And in case you are claiming a spouse points, you should add that also. All these are to be completed the first stage. This is only you are making a first initial stage. At this stage, this is not a real visa application. This is only an expressing an interest. Expression of interest is generally free in many countries. For example, in Canada and Australia it is free, whereas in case of New Zealand they charge some $530 nominal amount is charged there. So each country has got their own scheme of keeping that profile for some time. In case of Australia, it is kept for 2 years. Your profile or your expression of interest is kept for 2 years. In case of New Zealand, it is only 6 months. In case of Canada, it's about a year. So this is the standard process. Once you applied for your profiling or your EOI, then it goes to a pool. From the pool, periodically, either every month or every 2 months, the immigration authorities visit there and pick up the highest selection point based on the minimum achieved. So they go through that, make a basic scrutiny and see if you meet the basic requirements, the basic conditions, then they'll invite you for an application. So you will be invited to make an application for migration. So you can only migrate based on invitation. This is normally called ITA, invitation to apply for migration. So you submit an expression of interest, and from there you are picked up, and then you apply for the visa. These are the two clear-cut stages. Only during the visa stage you need to provide all the supporting documents generally. You don't have to provide much of supporting documents in your EOI, whereas once you're picked up you have to now submit all the documents substantiating and evidencing all the claims what you made earlier. So based on that, from that particular period between 6 months to 1 year, you will get the visa subject to verification of all the documents. This is a standard procedure of all the three countries. Now let us look at it. For some time what are the key features that get points for you. Age, you get points for all the three countries. Get some points. Qualification, depending on your qualification, whether it's degree, PhD, masters, whatever, you get points for that. Your spouse also gets some points based on that. Experience, you get some points for experience depending on the type of experience, but majority of the country maximum you can claim is 10 years experience. And then they are generally on the recent, but not necessarily. Your English ability, depending on the IELTS score, you can get some points, whereas in case of New Zealand alone, there is no points for English ability. Spouse points are allowed, so if you have a spouse with sufficient qualification. Employment offer, if you have an employment offer, then both New Zealand and Canada you get some points, but there's no points in Australia, although an employment offer will help you for regional migration within Australia. And you get some bonus points for studies in your country, studies in the particular experience in that country. So this is the standard process. For any further information or any further clarification, you need to take a separate appointment and discuss with us or any other migration agent. This is only an overview. Wishing you all the best, and thank you so much for the opportunity.